City of Ames Historic Preservation Commission. The first item is, are there any changes or additions to the agenda that was sent out?
No.
If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Is there a second? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Polly, get down.
Okay, we have one cat opposed, but the motion passes. Our third item on the agenda is the approval of the September 14th meeting minutes or notes. Are there any changes to or additions to those or corrections to those notes? If not, is there a motion to approve the notes or minutes?
All motion. Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I think so. Okay. Hang on just a second.
Yep, I think we need to get one more to join in.
Okay.
Is this Barry?
Looks like it's muted.
Whoever it is has it muted and
Yeah,
isn't unmuted.
yeah,
Okay. Well, we'll just go on.
yeah. We can go on. Sorry.
Let's see, did I call for those opposed to the minutes? Say aye. In that case, the approval of the minutes passes. I'm not sure who's on here. This is, we'll go into the public forum. This is the time set aside for public comments on topics of concern to the Historical Preservation Commission other than those on the agenda. Chairperson may limit each speaker to 5 minutes. Please understand that the commission is not likely to act on comments at this meeting due to requirements of the public meetings law or open meetings law, but may do so at a future meeting. Is there anyone with items they'd like to bring before the commission at this time?
I don't think we have anyone.
Okay. We'll go on then to item number 5, which is to consider the revisions to the goals, objectives, and action steps of the Ames Comprehensive Historic Preservation Plan. We received a copy of the summary of what has been put together over the last several months, almost a year. We've been working on it, and
I lost my share.
there were a number of staff suggestions to the summary, but I'll let Ray go through that.
Okay. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. Starting at the top here. In your report, we listed some staff comments of things that we'd like to go through with the commission to see if the suggestions or changes we have are acceptable to the commission. And just one format item there, number 1, replace the bold underline with the bold red print from the 9/14/2020 Historic Preservation Commission meeting. An example of that is at the bottom of this page here. where it says in bold red at the 9/14/20 HBC meeting, it was decided to add the Ames History Museum. So we would add that in here. It's not added in yet. And then, let's see, I think there was maybe another one. No. Anyway, wherever that is throughout the document, in the bold red, that's what happened at the last meeting. We would either replace the black underline or add to it based on what the comment was. Has everyone had a chance to look at those comments from the last meeting?
I've gone through them.
Yeah.
Now if others have, or
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, in like here's one at the bottom of the first page where it said the Historic Preservation Commission will host a neighborhood historic preservation summit each year as part of May Historic Preservation Month activities. And at the last meeting, it was decided to investigate the possibility to have a joint neighborhood summit with one that is held annually by the city for the neighborhood associations. I did find out that there's not an annual summit of neighborhoods, so we might have to change that word held annually because there's not a neighborhood summit every year. It's I don't know if it's every other year or just if they have a definite schedule, but we talked about joining in with them as opposed to having a separate summit by the commission.
when we, in looking at that, I wondered if we wanted to say that we will hold a historic preservations summit every year, or where we want to say something like at least once every 5 years or something like that. It seems like it's not something that would need to be done every year to me, but
Yeah.
what do others on the commission think?
I would agree with you. I think this is bad. I think every year is excessive. I once every couple of years I think is more than sufficient.
Yeah.
I would suggest it'd be at least once every 5 years. Does that sounds agreeable?
No less than?
Okay, no less than once every 5 years.
Is there anything that we can tie into that does meet regularly, whether it's once every 3 years, every 5 years, or it would be nice if it could tie into something so it could be something that people would look forward to and attend.
It's just that neighborhood summit, but again, it's not every year, but I'm not quite sure how frequently it is. I don't know that there's a regular schedule.
Well, and you also pointed out that it does not include neighborhoods without an organized association.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And
but I still think that might be a good first one, is to work with that and then see if we want to. I mean, we could. Well, I don't know if we can invite other groups to somebody else's meeting, but
Can we tie into something on Main Street, or is there something like a community-wide fair of some sort that we could always participate in, have a table or something like that?
I know the Ames History Museum does something usually during the summer, and we could maybe tie into that a little bit.
well, I think we could leave that as something that would be decided each time it's done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rather than specifying that in the actual action step.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
So we would be changing this to say at minimum every 5 years instead of each year,
Mm-hmm.
and remove the what's in red now.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds good. Okay. In goal number 1, objective B, I'm gonna scroll up the page here. Looking, it's the first action step. We say through the use of links on the City of Ames website to surveys that have been completed, we added that wording. Then we say include a statement with the links which clarifies that potentially eligible does not necessarily mean the property will be listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And as we were talking to staff, we were wondering if we should explain that there's different types of designations instead of just clarifying that it's potentially eligible. And that doesn't necessarily mean the property will be listed. If we could put something there about explaining the different types of designation.
I think that's warranted. I've seen in other, just from my past life in Michigan and Wisconsin, when you include that information, people automatically assume you're on the National Register and don't understand that it's a whole nother, process that needs to take place before you're listed. I think anything we can do to just clarify that. People respond positively, but also negatively if they think suddenly that their property is listed when in fact it's not.
Okay. Everyone else okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then skipping on down to goal number 2, objective A, and the action step. Our comment as staff was changed to identify a strategy to assist in funding staff or supporting costs of the Ames Historic Museum. We had put down there that the action step has been substantially accomplished, but that can change year to year depending on funding.
Right.
So if we instead said identify a strategy to assist in funding staff or supporting costs of the Ames History Museum, that might fit better, just because it's something that the council would consider each year, on an annual basis, rather than just decide they're going to fund it every year, because councils do change, and one council may not feel the same as another.
And budget pressures change.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Can I ask a question about that? When I was reading this, and I made a note to myself that, for an HPC to fund a local historical society, at least from my experiences, is uncommon. And I'm fully supportive of what Ames Historical Society does, but I'm just wondering kind of what, not to sound too mercenary, but what do we get out of that?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the commission funding it. It would be the council, because the council actually adopts the historic preservation plan.
I guess what I'm thinking is if we do provide them with, if the city does provide them with funding, can we attach some expectations that'll help us do what we need to do as a commission? I'm just wondering if there's a way that, we can solidify that partnership with them over, the provision of funding in some way. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. And again, I'm not trying to in any way suggest that they should not be funded. I absolutely do think they need to be funded, but I'm just wondering, they have tremendous expertise there. They have great resources. Wondering if there's a way that we can kind of parlay that into something for the HPC that'll help us meet our objectives.
It's kind of difficult because it's up to the council with each budget, and it's their decision and really what they want to see accomplished. So I don't know how it would work to put something in there that the commission wants to achieve with the funding, because you really don't have a lot of say in that. It's up to the council.
Yeah, what the council currently puts in the contract each year is really more based on presentations and stuff like that. We could just suggest that there be some. We could recommend that one of the funding criteria be some measure of related to historic preservation or something in that kind of broad terms.
Yeah. Well, they may already do this, but I was thinking that they would be and I know some of the folks that have this expertise, they would be, perfect to, hold like a seminar on how to research your historic business or your historic home. I know that gets done already, but I was thinking they would be, uniquely suited to do that. And it would, kind of help us with our mission too. But I'm sorry, I'm probably overthinking this.
I think it could be appropriate to ask that there be some performance measure based on historic preservation developed, and not just that it not be limited to that, but that something be included. But I don't know what it would be. What's the rest of the commission thinking on it? And I have to say, I'm, as a officer of the History Museum, I don't want to be influencing this.
Is there somewhere else in the plan? I just got the little snippet in front of me that Ray's got on his screen, but isn't there somewhere else where we talk about the partnership with the Ames History Museum?
And
Yes.
some other groups.
Does that give us a little stronger connection? Where is that located?
Well, I know one of the other ones we are looking at, we add them to groups we're to coordinate with, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it was, is to coordinate with. Yep.
Coordinate with?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think I know what Ted's, just from our work with some city groups and local resident groups, is that if you have a partnership with a local group, you do have a stronger buy-in to some goals, and also in attracting other members. And I think that's part of what we were doing with some of the revisionary work on the current plan, to have more realistic and more buy-in opportunities. So do we feel like it's strong enough right now to, I do think the partnership with the Ames Historical Museum is a very important one.
Here's that other reference you were referring to.
Okay. Oh, thanks. Perhaps as contributors to the Ames Historic Museum, the Ames History Museum, that provides our support of our stronger support when the city does support the Ames History Museum that way with a budgetary contribution. Maybe that is enough of a vote in their favor. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's. I'm having trouble trying to figure out how we would include it in our plan. You know, we don't want to be too specific, but we don't want to be obviously too ambiguous either. And right. I guess maybe just to try in some way to find overlap in terms of what they do and what we do. And using that overlap to kind of strengthen historic preservation in Ames. That's kind of the goal. I don't know. Maybe we don't need to call it out specifically here. I guess I just see that historical societies do a lot of stuff, and some of it is relevant to what we do on an HBC, but much of it is not. I mean, it's valuable, it's good, but it's just not what preservation commissions do. And I thought, it just seemed like that needed to be brought up at some point, but. Yeah.
Well, does the commission want to add language there?
Let's see.
Yeah, this one is really
Back to that.
primarily on the walking brochures, which the historic museum did work with HPC on the downtown walking tour and the plaque program.
Well, in fact, that was one of our other comments, is include language under Objective C of Goal 1, the second action step, that would include walking brochures in the digital format. It doesn't necessarily have to be a brochure.
Right.
My suggestion on that is to add the word tour and say printed brochures or digital guides or something.
Hey, Ray.
Yeah.
Do we have a set? The printed copies of brochures. Do we have some sort of? Do we have a sense of those, if those are actually used? I mean, do they? Are they taken from all the the places around town where we put them out, and they're gone in a day or two, and we see people using them? Or do we have a sense of whether or not the printed brochures and walking tours get any use?
Well, I know when Old Town printed one up for a tour of Old Town, self-guided.
Yeah.
They had those in various places downtown and in City Hall, at the Chamber, and they ran out of them.
Yeah.
So I think people do pick those up, but I'm not sure how quickly they disappear. But that it was a very nice brochure, and it was fairly popular.
Yeah, you know, I'm old enough to be. I like the old school stuff. I like the printed copies better than digital. But
Yeah.
I make a living working with people who are much obviously younger, and my sense is that they would prefer online stuff. But maybe they're not who we're trying to target with those walking tours.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to leave them out, certainly. You know, if the digital format is what they're most comfortable with, it'd be good to have that too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would always opt for the digital. I don't mean to split hairs here, but the digital we can update and it costs far less, and we can update it on the fly, and I think that's important.
Right. Yeah. The brochures, they usually end up being color, and it's more expensive to print those. Yeah. So we'll add a reference in there to having things in a digital format as well. If that's acceptable to the commission.
Yes.
Okay. So going back to that one we were talking about with the funding, yeah, it's difficult to know how far to go with that because you don't want to get too detailed and you don't really have control over the funding since, you know, it is the city council that decides that. I could work on that one to come up with some other wording.
Yeah. Well, in one sense, the objective up there does put it in terms of assist in achieving the goals of the historic preservation plan. I mean, that's awfully vague.
Mm-hmm. The action step, you know, as it reads now, identify a strategy to fund one full-time equivalent professional staff employee. That's probably a little bit too detailed. We could say identify a strategy to support costs for the Ames Historical Society. That's more general, but
I think on your recommendations, you did have you had some language spelled out there that about both funding staff and supporting costs.
Yeah, identify a strategy to assist in funding staff or supporting costs of the Ames History Museum. We could certainly do that. How would you like to proceed with that one?
Are you asking everyone, Ray, or just?
Sure, anyone. If you've got a thought about whether you want to change it to what staff recommended, or if you want to come up with some other language.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just I'll chime in. I think identifying a strategy to fund a full-time employee is too specific. I think just the more, as you say in the red bullet there, the more broad you can make it, the better. I kind of skimmed over the objective when I was reading this through, and the objective makes very clear that anything that would be funded supports, what our goals is a historic preservation commission. But I think the action step should be open-ended, and it shouldn't just be the hiring it shouldn't even be hiring of anybody. It just should be funding to support the historical society, who in turn will support the HPC in their activities. That's my 2 bits anyway.
We just need to make sure that we include, if there are things that we feel that the museum could partner with us very well, that we include them as part of the discussion.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the wording the staff came up with works better than what was here in bold, where it says not specifically a full-time person. I think where the staff recommendation was identify a strategy to assist in funding staff or supporting costs. So I would be in support of that.
Mm-hmm.
Going with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody else all right with that? Yeah. We could vote on that if you want.
So Peter, specifically, what are you suggesting it say?
I'm suggesting that it say what is listed under number 5 in the thing that Ray gave us.
The action form there.
Yeah.
Staff comments where
It says change it to identify a strategy to assist in funding staff or supporting costs for the Ames History Museum.
Yeah, that seems good.
Yeah.
I'd go with that.
Okay. The next item we have on the list of the staff comments is delete the items that have been accomplished. How do you guys feel about that as a commission?
You
The
mean
alternative is what?
You know, the things that we had in the plan originally that have been accomplished. For example, the things about chapter 31.
Right.
Just deleting that altogether.
Yes.
Yeah, I think things that are
Done.
a set of an event or something where they've already happened is good. Some things where we say that it's been accomplished but is an ongoing thing. That's my only concern about just deleting things, is if something needs to be ongoing, but I think we somewhat distinguished those as we went through.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that are, have a cross through line, just take those out is what we were thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's an action step on research the change in property values in Old Town Historic District since it was designated as a local historic district in 1989. Use the findings to encourage other neighborhoods to engage in preservation and be designated as a local historic district. we were talking about to do that right, it would probably be a major study.
Yeah.
So we didn't know if you wanted to have that in there or not.
I had made a note about that. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, that's where you hire Donovan Ripkema, and he comes out from DC and he does your study, and it costs a lot of money.
Yep.
I think there are enough municipal level studies out there that we could probably find one that's comparable to Ames, and there are statewide ones that we could point to as well. I think that you don't get much bang for your buck out of that. It's a lot of money, and I've been involved in these things when I worked for the SHPO in Michigan, and it's a lot of money. I don't think it's money well spent. So I would just, my feeling is that should be omitted.
Just omit that. Okay.
And there's all sorts of evidence out there to suggest that, these kind of meta studies that look at studies and show that property values either increase or don't do anything in historic districts. They rarely go down. And we can just point to that evidence, and it's academic, and it's empirical and all that other good stuff.
So then just do away with objective D altogether?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Goal 2, objective C, the 4th action step, talks about cultural landscaping, and we thought that probably should be changed to cultural landscapes.
Yeah.
That looked right.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I'm sorry. I don't mean to be. I don't want to dominate the conversation, but I work with landscape architects, and if you ever talk about landscaping, their heads explode. So you.
Okay. And then goal 3, objective A, what is meant by linking older neighborhoods to newer neighborhoods?
I wondered on that whether it was a matter of referring neighborhoods to another neighborhood that's gone through the process as a mentoring, or I'm not sure what the intent was.
Let's see. I don't think I'm quite on the right spot here yet. Goal 3, objective A, 4th action step.
4th action step.
Yeah, link older neighborhoods to newer neighborhoods as well as to the Ames 2040 comprehensive plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure what that meant either. It seems like two different things.
Yeah.
Link older and newer neighbor. I'm not sure what linking older and newer neighborhoods means, but linking to the Ames comp plan, I think is essential, but that's independent of the first half of that sentence.
Yeah. So, so you want to just say something about linking neighborhoods to the Ames 2040 comprehensive plan, or do you want to just do away with that action step?
I don't think we want to do away with it. I think
Okay.
the link to the 2040 might be.
Yeah.
Well, what was the intent of linking neighborhoods?
I can't remember even who brought that up, but as we went through this as staff the other day, we were confused about what that really meant.
Like I said, the only thing I could think of on linking neighborhoods would be some type of looking for mentoring or something to go through a process. But I think just dropping that aspect of it and putting and saying to get historic preservation recognized in the 2040 comprehensive plan, or somehow get the comprehensive plan to to support historic preservation or something.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Maybe be recognized as a strategy or something like that.
Maybe we're thinking of a spectrum of neighborhoods in the city of Ames, you know, that there's a whole range of older and newer. But as long as we're linked to the 2040 plan, I think that's going to be our main action that we want.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's the the legal document. I think in any way that we can kind of insinuate ourselves in that process is critical.
Right.
So how would you like to word that?
Assure that historic preservation is recognized as a legitimate public strategy in the Ames 2040 comprehensive plan.
Maybe not legitimate, let's see. But some assurance that we are part of the bigger picture.
I think some neighborhoods are a little concerned over the emphasis on infill in the comprehensive plan and whether that and on increasing densities in existing areas might be contrary to historic preservation. That would be why I'd say some about recognizing it as an existing policy or something, maybe.
Well, we could come up with some wording as staff, as long as we just understand that you want to make sure that historic preservation is part of the 2040 comprehensive plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it has to be.
Okay.
So can I ask you a question about the action step above that? Or not even ask, but I want to make a comment about that. To revisit key neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That have had surveys done and put links on. I always kind of wondered. I mean, I think it's good to get as much information out there as possible, as long as it comes with caveats that explains what it means to be a surveyed property versus a potentially eligible property versus a listed property. But I kind of wonder how much value that has to the average person at the end of the day. But the one thing that I don't know if we talked about this before, and I apologize, I couldn't make the last meeting, so maybe it would have been better to bring it up then. But where I really think a real shortcoming, I think, is the lack of our survey data in the city's GIS. And I'm just wondering if we could maybe instead of just focusing on pushing that old survey data out, could we talk about trying to get that data integrated into the GIS as a layer, so that it becomes part of the decision-making process at City Hall and whoever else uses that data, developers, etc. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I think so.
So I mean that would be time and money, obviously. I don't think. Ray, do you know, is the survey data, has it been digitized? Is it in shapefile format or?
Some has been digitized. I'm not sure what format it's in, but I'd have to talk to our GIS coordinator to see if the information we have can be, added as a layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it just exists as analog data, then, transforming it into, geospatial data is going to be, time and money intensive. But I think that needs to be raised because that helps in the decision-making process for everybody. Us, planners at City Hall, developers are looking for, places to, invest and make use of the tax credit. I think it could be, very, as my kids would say, it could be a game changer in terms of the presence of preservation in Ames. Whether or not it's on the radar or not. The average person.
That's definitely part of the decision-making process. Ted, are you talking about more than just the boundaries or anything?
I think it has to be polygon data. It has to be boundaries, but it has to be within the districts. We need to distinguish between contributing and non-contributing.
Okay.
Because then you're talking about eligible for tax credits or not eligible for tax credits.
True. Okay.
Among other things. And so and that may be a much bigger discussion than what we're trying to get at here, but I just think it's critical that we raise that at some point. So I got just again, I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk blather on, but what I've seen in bigger cities across the U.S. is obviously bigger planning departments, bigger budgets, but they push their preservation data out. It's picked up by developers who go through that capital stacking process where they stack up all the incentives and they find places to reinvest in the historic environment. It's transformed neighborhoods in places like DC. And so I know we're not DC, we're not even Des Moines, but in a small way, I think that could really help the Luke Jensens and other guys in town who are looking at places to invest in historic properties and homeowners.
Is that the kind of work that a ISU internship could help with?
I would almost, I suppose that's a possibility, but I think a better solution would be to try to get some CLG grant money if it supports something like that. That's certainly preservation planning.
Right.
I think that would be a more likely solution. It's hard with students because of the schedules that they're on. The semester schedules or the 4-year schedules. But that's a possibility too. And it would be invaluable work experience for them. But
just wondered.
So
I have to be careful not to push too hard for ISU.
Yeah. So should we change that action step to say integrate city survey data with the city GIS?
I would be fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then we had goal 4, objective C, the third action step. We were suggesting leave it as is. Objective C. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So to keep the aid language, you mean?
Yeah, keep the current language. It was this one.
Yeah.
This one here. Yeah. Provide information concerning grants and aid and other funding sources for historic preservation.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Keep it and add the other, or just keep it?
Just keep it the way it was. As we were talking about staff, we thought that the city's role is probably more to provide information than to promote. It's not that we don't want people to use those financial incentives, but we see the city as being the resource for getting information, but not necessarily being the
promoter.
salesman for it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with keeping it.
Okay. All right. And then goal 6, include historic preservation in addition to heritage tourism.
I think that was a good idea.
Yeah, we're almost done here. Yeah. So leave historic preservation in there and heritage tourism. Does that sound okay?
Right.
Okay. And then objective B, first action step, change Ames Main Street to downtown Ames, because it's not called Ames Main Street anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we had as staff. So I don't know if there's any other goals or objectives or action steps anyone on the commission would like to bring up, but that's pretty much what we had as staff.
Can we go back to the one we were just talking about where you said talked about the GIS?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And if you're replacing all the wording that's there, I don't have a problem. But if we're keeping any of that wording that is there, there was a numerical issue.
Yeah, this one here.
What's there, the them would refer to the neighborhoods as opposed to the surveys. So if we're keeping that language, them should change to the survey, put links to the surveys. But if we're replacing that entirely, it's not an issue.
I think Ted was thinking of replacing it entirely. Is that right, Ted?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm rereading it. Yeah, either replace it or maybe expand it is better. I mean, I think we can. There's no reason not to push the data. Most average citizens out there don't have GIS. It's a very small segment of the population. It's planners, architects, transportation folks, some consulting firms. I mean, GIS data is not readily usable, so I think we need to get it out there in more ways than just that. So I would say amend the text maybe just to include GIS, but then also make that survey data available in ways that regular people can use it. Is that what you were asking, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, in many ways, I think with the GIS thing, I see that as being really valuable for within City Hall, probably more than among the average population outside of City Hall. But
yeah, I can see it being useful for city staff and the others that we work with outside the city organization.
right.
I would almost say it'd be an additional action step and leave this one as it is, other than changing the them to the surveys, and then add another action step following that.
That would be fine, I think.
Yeah.
I just think that Ted's right about the significance of GIS information in the decision-making process of a city government. It's one of those pieces of information that really is critical.
Yeah. And I think that is important enough to stand alone as a separate action step.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. I think that's wise.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone?
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
I think it's under goal 3. The action step, explore the possibility of designating a property in Ames as a National Historic Landmark in addition to the farmhouse.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, you can certainly include that. It doesn't hurt to include that, but I just don't know what being an NHL is. There are a couple grants out there that you would be eligible for as an NHL, but I that kind of just clutters stuff. I don't know if we really need to include that. And frankly, I don't know if we have anything else in Ames that is NHL
Right.
caliber.
So delete that action step.
I would be inclined to do that. I think it just kind of muddies the waters unnecessarily.
Okay.
And there's no bang for the buck again. I mean, it's a lot of effort to go through that process, and then what you get out of it is nominal compared to what you get out of a National Register listing.
Okay. Yep. That's a good comment. Anything else?
So based on those changes, is there a motion to proceed with the recommendation of alternative 1 as suggested?
Did you want to say adding in the changes proposed by staff, or
Adding in the changes endorsed today.
okay, adding in the changes that the commission, made at this evening meeting. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Somebody want to make that motion or
So moved.
second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. We are passed. And I think we're then to the commission comments. I'm not.
Yeah.
Are there any comments from commissioners? We are wanting to, this will be, let's see, this will, it's a recommendation to the planning and housing.
It's actually a recommendation of the city council.
Okay. Is that something that's going to require making a presentation to them, or how does that work?
It probably will. Yeah. So
Okay.
we'll probably want to include commission members, or at least the chair in that.
Okay. Just let us know when
Okay.
that might come up.
Sounds good.
The other thing is we had said last time we want to submit the signage for the downtown historic district in the budget process, and have we got any idea when that's coming up? Or
I'm sorry, I forgot to check on the date for that, but I'll check on that in the morning and then email the commission, let you know when that is.
okay.
Sorry about that.
Those are the things I know of. Are other commissioners have issues?
That was my same question.
Yep, good question.
If we don't have any staff comments, we'll go to, or I mean, we don't have any other commission comments, we'll go to staff comments then.
Yeah, I don't have anything particular.
No new, no new, requests or anything?
Nope, no new
Yeah.
requests.
Okay,
So,
I guess, next item is adjournment then.
yep, need a motion to adjourn.
Anybody want to move to adjourn?
I will move to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. I don't want to sit all night waiting for
Yeah.
that one. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, nay? We are adjourned then.
All right.